Isaac anshongezwa atirine n'entebe kanseriyo neretwa okurebeka ngu buri muntu yamanyo kwara atereze kasasiro ye na nokugikwata okureka nti yaretaho burofa na nokuzambara omurembo orwa kasese obwe barugumizamu okuteeka omu nkora entebe kanisa za gavumenti ez'okuteekaho ebyobwecumi ebirungi obwe n'enguudo ezombekirwe emifureje hamwe n'emikura y'amaizi yo eyihereze kuba neterezebwa. Reka tubase kuba nitutwaraho omuri kasese tukoreke ebikwatirine n'enshongezo ez'ebyobuyonjo n'obwecumi obwe turuganiraho na Chance Kahindo ogwo niwe meya w'orurembo orwa Kasese Municipality. Amakuru ago omesha tuliyo ntujja ku bantu gakwisiaho kandi jucengu kuturaheze twinahaganda kuturabenti kureteraho na nombi cweka ebyakabare ahanshonga ezikwatirine hamwe na nebyo kwirinda nabyo ntujja ku bantu bikuretera aizira kireshaha mukagazi yangwe amakuru nimenji ya kuturabe twakwikizeho omukasheshaka obwe orukureba Tayari West irakaryitu on program na AG yamakuru erukumanywa nke Agahanu Nahari okwe omuri Kasese tuliyo tutebekanisa kwisiaho ebyo ebikwatirine nebyo buyonjo kandi omunyamakuru wetu Mate Isaac yahirize kuba tayari hamwe na meya w'orurembo orwa Kasese obubarukweta Chance Kahindo arukushobora ahanshonga ez'orurembo rwa Kasese Municipality. Reka tubase ku bantu kuoreka ebyo tutyo tuje tugumizemo n'amakuru agandi.
Wasijja kutsiba omusamaliri w'ekinembe kye Tayari West TV twamatungaho muisa eribi tukakanaya na meya owe Kasese Municipality omwami Chance Kahindo. Tukachimenya ndeke hamkabura bawite eriteke lyaka erikambo kasasiro tunacha sindeke ende hano mu Kasese Municipality abataka bakasasurira ekasasiro wanganeta mu politape police so tukanze liminyerera ibo habwachi bachuka politape police kandi hamahwa emyaka ngibiri ibanawute politape police eyo tukanze liminyerera yikakora ite Kasese kandi abandu mubangirirayo ama abandu babiranayo so way to may wasinja kutsiberikana yako netu abandu politape police ine mukora ite
wasinja musamaliri okwana kule kute politape police itwenga balimi be Kasese Municipality yabiri tuwa teacher abandu mubatangirira imubikirira people accepted only that omobole chindu simwebula abasabotuas nerabasabotuas abakingiramo abakenda bakabwamba abandu manya Kasasero betu abandu be Kasese babirikiriria bani munileha akasasero only that netu ono wa part tuletongara mu money o enforcement eriwo teacher abo bakasoroka ya enforcement chamale kitwa sana new guidelines politape police nesha garbage management in the country. In other countries chabiri clear and ukatwa maetse ukatwa masanyerezi ukatwa garbage ukatwa house rent you as a tenant ndio uchiri clear so chabiri sini Uganda that now ukibuka ukatwa rent ukatwa na kasasero ngokugana twa masanyerezi then ukumugana twa na mezi shenyimbe siri connected kwa maetse na chamale kito tunao tubiri abantu twendo mashanda kututi politape police si enda sasa subula because yale kitwabya naba kubanza umihanga omubiyonjo tunahambirireyo nabe kabe kasomwe Kasese wetu eno tukongarane riwa tutinao abalendozi mu byawea and tukende basaba sitwe tukalilinga with individuals abanda tenants binyibikiri mu manyumba enyu tukalilinga na manyumba house so tunamasana Kasese rikali mu nyumba apo boyonjo batekinga iba oyo munyi nyumba yabo boyonjo badilinga nayo twame tulebera kingayi na twachinge nyumba
so to wamando mu pende bye Nyamwamba division ukegaya haliyo ako tendara muma akakolisa utukutuku so abandu bangana ibulia indisi muiteyo batendara abawute capacity ikaunza
Nyamwamba tubetu tia batendara zibabere men with a difference nomisha kulaba kola makahaba Mario esaheno I think actually chikaba subulia na abandu because how enforcement ikaunza na habo reba hama besa now the new guidelines is managing garbage in the country chiketu ati because so ndibuto kwa usukulu Kasasero itwa biri hikako so ndi butu weso andakaleta because kalimani landlord amatendika kukisha chikaba sirikizibi chama cha Lukunda okulandlord this time kuondisha sente nje tenant ni jena bisitu rukuchi okahouse ndi anga musasura na rutwanga katoka such that you mwenye oyika kasoroka ya ine chamichiko ku tenant na tenant at the end of the month ine mukolechi ine mwaisha sente
so uka wa mahiko mabipindi bye nyakasanga ukarangira okwa weekend muba kanatunge kitsebu cha maet eri blocking garbage ka blocking emikoro ya maet abandu kababura uticho kumulengo
ekyo tulikuranisia konde tukadilingana individuals neri abandu bakafuse garbage yo mamekufuleye but now this time tuketwa kole turnover omwa chas kahendo garbage mwikere abandu munane tukashenda mu garbage itruka abo buyonjo I have turned them into inspectors, not office inspectors. Field inspectors. When you field, back on my field, you make a carambra one, and a two, a barambra two, a corridor. The corridor may be polluted in your ho to Bahambe because the law is there. The guideline are very wide here. Now, travel Bahamba, Imukindi near. Now, Omoforea may be some Casasir, to come and send you about Numaka Somuchi, or Macasir. Head inspectors were taking a charge, Alangendabaka. Because to talk a lot to Abandu can have a record so much or more mefore.
Editeka no le ka kana kone trade order.
Actually, Wamenduka Samara Casan because it is a trade order versus garbage management. It is basically Wama Horekerera have a naming of streets. Naming of streets. Romna to Mundike street in Europe. So in the review Syria more but to continue implementing give you concurrently.
Omulenge wawe tunemunzerera kubataka be Kasese Municipality eribi bakangerera amateka mahyaka awe garbage management
aba takabe Kasese mwasinja abakalani mwasinja kutsibu makakolumbiri munene cyo kubanza gabe sima ndi amateka twabukero area police abandu itu hakasasero mumwaliangera mwe bitu kirone ritu mwasinja kutsibu andi asasi abasaba ndi Kasese town mwanze yungo ko wenyi mwanzeyo mukole imwa Kasese town eyenyu yiri kibya town ya chas ibi town y'abantu abanyakasese abikere muyo namabo kwa bantu bisatu garbage management trade order na naming of streets ebyo sibikende na murundo mungaye muma so ndisha kuteba ati a trade order ahwera it's on tukabo butu kubera homolera muhumwire it's on throughout everything ekitana so at any time iso butukija mechekole cha wamanza hosi tunarede rikuteria wamabichimba tenziri abanda banisha notices yetu esika expiring tuangalie kukumuka itera ya tuketukane minga the streets isituse tukane minga already we have the names muna contacting obusenga bwenzururu to give names of abanyaronzuru basha kulwa abakera those heroes abakakwa misaya na byo matabalo I already have the names so tukayaba neminga tukane minga streets according to those people ngamuba kolachi so we shall name the streets. We are going into trade order. It remains kwa garbage management.
Wasija kutsibu umusamaliri owe chinembeche tayari West TV ono are Chance Kahindo kande ni meya owe Kasese Municipality niyo turekukana nayo okumatsi we garbage management erangere akasasiro kakahwa omataka hano Kasese.
Webari mate Isaka kutusia hamakurago kuruga muri Kasese agebyo kuyonja orurembo orwo kandi nkoko wareba abataka banemwe hambiramu bakayonja omuyoyi owe Kasese oyo akabya akabuwanema ne Chance Kahindo meya owe Kasese Municipality banemubuwa okubashashonga ezihambangene no buyonjo no bwitote omwa Kasese ahosi omwa muyoyo Nebyebyo tujja ku bantu bukongera mpora turebe abataka ekyo kibatandika barije gumiza munacho ninga nebeja kwikobwire baruhe ko turu kureba abanyuganda obwiro bumwe ebintu ebirukubane bitandikane bitandikisa man boreka ngo babikunzire babyejumbiremo konko bwire kubukutambura bwa komesho oreba bamwe batandika ku ruhano kubirugaho tujja kurebeka ngo ekyo twakigumya hamesho no mwijuka enyumaho omuri Kasese buri rwa katano rukushemba yo mukwezi amahe na nabibyo kwirinda bakabe kwatira mu kuyonja ururembo rwe konkensho ngejo ikijane hwamani yijane rugaho kandi hati ntureba no shuta bataka nabo bagitandika okongera naha ya government eya buri rwa mukaga urukumaririra okwezi okugira ngo habeho okushuyonja okutandika na shayimu yakasheshe okikashahina ezakasheshe kureka ngo kuyonja kwa agenda omeisho nebyebyo tujja kuba ntukonjere bukukira ali ebyo okubera abe nebirebeka eshayigi tujja kuba ntwenjerayo n'amakuru gitu Agahanu Nahari Tayari West orinanye Pleasure Ajuna kandi eshayigi tujja kutwaraho ahishenjero ly'ihanga ahari orukiiko hagati y'abakakiiko akakureebuuza enkozesa y'empiha z'omuhi w'omushoro akarukumanywa nka kakosase kariyo nikabuganaho ab'ekitongole kyateerwa gavumenti ekirikubiikira abantu akasente k'okwija kuhuumuriraho omu myaka ya bukuru ekirikumanywa nk'ekya NSSF kandi bariyo nibashoronza enshonga ezikwatiriine n'ekibiina eky'okukirikubiika esente ezo ezirikuba niheebwa abantu abakuba nibakorera ebitongole ebitari bya gavumenti okugira ngu nabo baba bahumwire batunge akasente k'okubabiisaho mu myaka yaabo eya bukuru orukiiko oru ruriyo nirugenda omu maisho ahishengyero ry'ihanga amagingo aga kandi ntwenda ngu tukutwareyo obaase kuba noyerebera oku bariyo nibagenda omu maisho n'okuhajaana aha nshonga zitari zimwe na zimwe reka tukutwareyo ahishengyero ry'ihanga tujja kugaruka okuba nitukutwara omu makuru agandi Agahanu Nahari aha Tayari West.
Private entities. Is any Ugandan free to walk into NSSF and apply for a loan? And for this emergency debt, is it possible? Is it, your agreement does it provide for conversion, maybe in case they default to equity? Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there are projects that NSSF started on years back. For instance, Temangalo, Lugowa. Can they give us the status of those projects? Because the other question would be, why for all these years you've failed to complete these projects, yet you have money that you are giving out to companies that are almost collapsing?
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Chairman, I still have.
You had one issue.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the other concern is NSSF is good at overvaluing their properties. I think in this case we need our auditors to help us. If at all there's been a discussion, because most of the projects, if you look at them, when they are valuing their properties, those are not true values. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, is in regard almost to the loan that I've just given Uganda Clays and many other companies where they have invested. You'll find that most of these companies are not doing well if you look at their financials. But NSSF still goes ahead and invests in these projects. Maybe what we need to do, Mr. Chairman, if they can give us a list of companies that have invested in and their financial stand, maybe it can guide us well. I thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The
procedure, Mr. Chairman.
Procedure.
Much obliged. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You had accorded the NSSF team time to give us a brief, an overview of what they've come to present. They've not, I don't think they are through with that. Then we are already bombarding them with questions and concerns. Wouldn't it be procedurally right for them to first tell us what they have to tell us, then we respond? Much obliged.
Well, before I guide on that, let me first appreciate these questions, then I'll guide on how we proceed with them. Another? Yeah, let him finish. Then we are going to rule on the procedure.
Thank you, Chair.
Guiding on how this can be answered.
In addition to what you presented, my simple question to the MD is that what informed your decision to give a new loan, a new restructured loan to Uganda Clays without a new valuation report? I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Bruce. It is on.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in the issues you raised to the Chair, to the MD of NSSF, and I don't know whether it was to postpone them, to respond to them later, or he didn't have straight answers for them.
in their document, the statement of net assets available for benefits, there is a big concern the chairman raised, and maybe you need figures attached to it for you to appreciate how grave the matter is, that you have a reserve account. You have an account with money not allocated to beneficiaries. Last year, that money was 91 billion. That is 2024. Today, the money is 104 billion. 2025. The money is growing. The beneficiaries of this money are not known. The committee would like to know, are you investing the money? For who are you investing it? Have you made a public call to the public for those who may have sent money to you erroneously to come and claim their money? Isn't it a case of holding money in some form that members would construe to be unfair when actually the economy needs this money and Ugandans need this money? And in any case, those who paid it need to earn interest on it. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think before I allow another hand, let me rule on the procedure. Given the nature of questions, they follow squarely within one of the observations of the Auditor General, especially in the audit report. Now, when I want you to respond from the second observation, 2.0 is sufficient collateral for the restructured loan to Uganda Clays. I want to capture your response on record, then we interrogate it further by way of, first of all, the questions raised also speak to the same. What is disclosed within the Auditor General's report is that you gave a loan to Uganda Clays. Before we look at a possible irregularity, what procedure did you take to select and consider Uganda Clays for a loan, and the later is adding in whether there were other applicants. What were the procedure used, and what was the criteria? And if it may serve you best, who is responsible in the processing and issuance of loans on behalf of NSSF? If the responsible person is also here, you disclose the person and you also put him on record. But proceed as accounting officer.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, honourable members, for your questions. So I'll start with the Uganda Clays. It is not a new loan. The fund loaned this money around 2011 to Uganda Clays. What happened in January 2025, it was restructured. Now, in 2011, when the fund loaned this money to Uganda Clays, it was not secured at all. It was not a secured loan at all. So part of the restructure was to see if we could get some assets, at least partially secure it, so that it would continue to do. Now, one of the things that happened is, and I think the beauty of what the fund did is, if it had been any other lender, back then, 2015, 2016, they could have foreclosed on Uganda Clays. And today, the 1,000 plus people who work in Uganda Clays would have no jobs, which would have been non-existent. The fact that the fund went on and restructured this facility enabled Uganda Clays to basically remain operational. If you look at their financial, which we've put here, you can actually see that last year, which is 2025, they turned from a loss position to a profit-making position. So one of the things that I think we are grateful to is actually that you can support a company and the council. So it was not a new loan. It was restructuring it so that this company could continue to exist. Now, in the process, we got collateral that we didn't have before.
While restructuring,
yes,
and you got collateral,
correct.
Wouldn't you opt for sufficient security or collateral?
No, they didn't have enough. They did not have enough security that they could give to us. They had very old equipment. They were just planning on buying equipment that was new, because we got really intimate in terms of determining what we could take as collateral there. Now, this year, as they begin to replace the equipment, we now get chattel over this equipment so that secure the loan fully. So that's the background towards Uganda Clays.
Now, what is the considering that you secured only 15.4, 9.6 billion remains unsecured.
Right now it is.
What is your take?
So what is happening is now, remember they're also now undergoing evaluation of their own properties. So we can, for purpose of their own records, we believe that, because part of it is land, we believe that the land in Kajansi has valued, so that gap will become smaller. The equipment that they're buying now, we'll put security on those as we do it, and we close that gap.
Please, the procedure of lending. How did you? Can you lend to any other person?
Can you lend to me if I can?
Okay, let's get who is responsible in selecting who to lend? Is it you as the head? Is it a board? Is it?
Okay, go ahead. Thank you, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, honourable members. I think before I get to the last question you've asked, I think the committee will benefit from a bit of context. Uganda Clays is one of the, actually was the first company to be listed on the stock exchange of Uganda in 2000. It was doing very well. In the year 2007, they sought to expand into eastern Uganda. They got a property in Kamonkoli Valley, right? Now, that expansion was meant to be funded both by equity and by debt. They did a feasibility study in 2007. According to that feasibility study, the expansion required 19 billion. But the actual expansion was done in 2011. Between 2007 and 2011, the actual cost required to expand had increased to 39 billion. Now, in 2010, early 2010, they had done a rights issue to shareholders. They couldn't go back to shareholders for more money. But that meant the gap between 19 and 39 meant that they needed to go to the commercial banks to raise the balance. Now you enter 2011. We were coming from the financial crisis. All prices were in excess of $150. Everything was on the high side. Inflation actually, I think, was probably one of the highest Uganda had seen. So what then happened is that the commercial bank rates at the time were in excess of 25%. Uganda Clays then came to the fund as one of the key shareholders to refinance. The board at the time in 2011 could not finance the entire, could not refinance the entire loan which Uganda Clays had borrowed from some of the commercial banks. They only approved 11 billion at an interest rate of 15% for 7 years with 2 years grace period, meaning that by 2020 the company ought to have paid back the loan. Now the question of the chairman is important. Who is responsible for giving out loans? Mr. Chairman, the people on this facing you today were not there at the time, right? So we only try to make good of a bad situation. The reality is that the collateral of Uganda Clays, some of which had still been pledged to other commercial banks. So what we managed to secure when we did the restructuring in 2025 was the collateral that was available. But our intention is to have the loan fully collateralized, and we are in discussions with the company to ensure that going forward, we get the full 20.6 collateralized. But actually what was lent at the time was 11 billion, which by 2025 had increased to 20.6.
Maybe before moving further, is it your submission that Uganda Clays has other loans in several other banks?
My submission is that yes, Uganda Clays had some loans, but that was before we even moved in to ensure that the loan is collateralized. Now, in the process of getting the loan collateralized, we have been increasingly
increasing the amount that is collateralized. And we believe that as other loans, actually the loan agreement is such that they cannot take on a new loan without our consent. So right now we are monitoring, and we believe that going forward, we should be seeing the company, the loan fully collateralized, and the good things that the financial performance as submitted by MD has improved based on the last year's performance.
The Auditor General recommended that you do adequate monitoring on Uganda Clays.
Yes.
What have you done?
Mr. Chairman, we do adequate monitoring. We have representatives on the board. We also have an investment
representative.
One of them is actually
you give us the name, don't you? the name and
yeah, Mr. Milton Ward is a board member. He's the colleague next to me on the left.
Yes.
But we also have other members of our board, Director Pedina Tukamesigo. We also have we have two, because recently the capital markets regulations on having more independent non-executive directors have impacted our representation on the board. But I just want to give the comfort to the committee that actually we do monitor. We have an investment team. Every time the company publishes financial statements every 6 months, we actually review the performance and advise our board accordingly.
So before that, now that you are on the board, you have public money extended to you through NSSF. You have a veiled NSSF collateral or security. So 9.6 remain unsecured. Do you have any conflict of interest? And what have you done on behalf of NSSF to ensure that you make good in line with the observation of the Auditor General?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think to start with, there is no conflict of interest at all. I sit on that board to represent the best interest of NSSF, which is part of the monitoring that the senior colleagues have talked about. I think the only thing I can add to the substance of what they have said is that Uganda Clays in the last couple of years has been going through a difficult business situation. The old machinery had gotten old and was breaking down a lot. Competition in the clay business has been rising. I think we all know the various different clay manufacturers that have come in the country. But the good news is that courtesy of the different financing options, last year the company installed, and even this year the installation continued, a brand new line, Italian line for brick making. And like you saw in the financial performance in the year that just ended, the production capacity has gone up significantly. The volume of sales has gone up significantly. The cost of operation has come down significantly. For the first time in about 6 years, the company turned profitable. I don't have the details of the financial numbers, but all I can tell you with a lot of confidence is that the projections are that starting next year, Uganda Clays will be in a strong position to start paying the NSSF loans in the installments as agreed. And then on the matter of collateral, I think the DMD has explained it very well. At the time when the loan was given, it was given without any form of security, without any form of collateral, 2011. When it was restructured, that's when NSSF took the opportunity to collateralize what was collaterable. And at that point, the value of the assets that could be used as collateral could only go to the 15.4. But as the company continues to invest, the value of what can be collaterable only increases. But again, I think the assurance that we've given is that all the financial projections of Uganda Clays is that come next year, the loan of NSSF is hard-coded to be paid in the installments as agreed.
Maybe before you come in, back to you, the procedure of identifying or selecting the policy on selecting, because much as this was
issued in 2011, but at least in 2025, you're restructured. And the restructure is as good as issuance. Now, we want to appreciate and understand how is it arrived at. Can him, as he said, come and apply as a private member of a loan without security?
Yes. Which law do you rely on to give loans?
Yes.
We will restructure.
You said in addition?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, it's very good. They are coming out slowly by slowly. Maybe you should tell us the debt level at the time of restructuring or buying shares. We need to understand that of Uganda Clays.
The question, sir?
The debt level at the time before restructuring, or before giving out money, or before buying shares from Uganda Clays, because we want to understand how NSSF is good at going in projects that are too risky. That's what we want to pick from you.
Thank you. Honorable C, is yours connected?
No, it was answered in terms of, I wanted to find out what is the value of the current unsecured, because like MD had guided that it's been reducing. What is the value now? But then the other broader issue, as you answer how you identify people who give loans, the other broader issue the MD mentioned, which you wanted to come out in his opening statements, was how to identify investments, even in associates, apart from loans. Because I know that there's an audit issue on the issues of TORs on board representatives, but then in your initial remarks you mentioned about issues of investments, and when you come here it's an opportunity also to talk to the people and to us as representatives and the world out there. How do you identify these investments, and how do the shocks those associates get in the market, how does it affect the fund? For instance, recently we had the Umeme and their issues. So it would be important to widen on the broader issue of the investments. And then lastly, which you thought would come out also in your opening statement, since you are also speaking to the world, it's the issue of the pension tower. I thought that it would also be important. I know that there was a value for money audit recently, I think last year, and there were issues which required for remedial actions to be taken. It would also be important to give an update for the purposes of ensuring that we are on course, and maybe if any remedial actions on the pension tower are taken. Thank you, Chair.
I think let him conclude on the questions, then you summarize.
Okay. I think I just want to, on the overall process which you raised, as you recall, I said that what starts off for the fund is we begin with the investment policy that has been approved by the board. Now, the Act has given the board the responsibility to make investment decisions. Of course, they make it based on the recommendation of management. Once an investment has been decided on and the board has okayed it, it goes to the Minister of Finance for no objection. So we have internal processes in which how we identify and comes up from so it's informed by a number of things. One, as I mentioned, the strategic asset allocation. In other words, when we look at our ranges where we need to be, for example, we need to be, bonds should be between 70 to 80%. We find out that we may be short in the bonds, so equities may be 20%. Then we find that, okay, there is a bit of a gap in our sizing. So who are the good candidates? And a lot of it is when you read financials, you read news, we can tell you what the company is doing, what they're doing where, and that informs the research that goes into that part of it. So it's kind of a scientific process that it goes through to determine whether this company, this is a good candidate for looking at for investment purposes. What you raised was, can you as an individual come and say, I also want a loan? Yeah, you could, but the point of it is there are certain criteria we're going to follow. Now, I'm not sure whether you as an individual, you qualify for those criteria that we need in terms of what we do. So there's a good, thorough process that we go through, and the results show it. The results show, I mean, our economy grew by 5% last year. The fund grew by over 23%. And a lot of it were earnings, as I reported earlier.
That cannot be by mistake. And we say we use a portfolio approach where portfolio is diversify, you mix your assets, you mix your securities, so that if one is going down, the other still keeping the fund up. This whole story of don't keep all your eggs in one basket is very applicable in investments.
So, yeah, let him first answer. No, let him first.
Ochiriya tayari westi irakaritu noreba makuru Agahanu Nahari kandi ekichwa noreba screen yawe ni abakachiko kishingiro lihanga akakosase akarukuban kashitamu habanyishengero abebembezi bako nbaba bari aburu bajoro akanisa government kandi nkoko wanoreba ogwena mawanda nkunyinji no yabakebembeire ogwena mnyishengero wabantu ba Kyadondo East omwishengero lihanga kandi yabashitamire na Nondijo Honorable George Musisi ogwena uno mnyishengero owakira municipality omwishengero lihanga bomberaba nabikibine kya National Unity Platform NUP kandi ekyo necho rubajoro akanisa government yo mwihanga babariyoni babuganaho abakachiko aka NSSF akechi okubasa kwita ekitara kihanga ekirukubikira abakozi abatari ba bitongore ebya government okugira ngo akasenta ako bagumene bakabika buri kwezi ninga buri mwaka ninga buri bwiro barabe bekirizine okugira ngo akasenta ako keje kabahwere omyaka yabe yabukuru baba bahumwire emirimo batachikora nabwo ekyo babariyoni baganira ahanshonga zitari zimwe na zimwe ahishengero ryihanga nko abantu zikoreka aha tayari west irakaritu amakuru agarukurataho hati tujja ku bantu kutwara kandi home district ya Masaka turukoreka minister wa government z'ebichweka bara mu Barugahara Atenyi arugumizamu n'orutaya yorwe okureba empereza y'obuhereza abantu babutosha ombichweka ebitari bimwe na bimwe enyumaho tubire twakorekere ariyo mu Rurembo orwa Masaka City arukureba ebyobuhereza okubiri kandi yabuganaho nabebembezi batari bamwe na bamwe eshaheji ariyo muri Masaka district naho ariyo nabuganaho abebembezi abatari bamwe na bamwe aba government okubari no bakora emirimo yabo kandi naija kubanza yaganiraho n'abanyamakuru yaheza azo mu rutaya yo kureba emirimo okwerukorwa kuko kureba a screen yawo munyamakuru witu Job ariyo kubana twisia hebyo kandi reka tubase ku bantu mwegitaho tubase kugenda mesho n'amakuru agandi Agahanu Nahari aha tayari west
nzani ralero Masaka district ne balonda yicha na mkakatawi kanso ke abasoso kutyaza honorable minister balamu Uganda sebo tyansanyo nyanelizanyo mama babire salajjo mama waffe wa Koto East atera naffe tuli bana be atulera mama tukanelizanyo nyanelizanyo gavana wange Kakande John webale tata okubeerawo era nga webagambye nti abamu gavana ate yagenda okubaaniriza naye munzikirize nyanirize mukama wange aliwo lwa DPC ayimireko afande Kandole oba oliawo naye tutegeere nemunogobaze naye ye security yaffe wano etudde wano mukyana mukakatawi kanso eya Masaka district neyanza nnyo mukadde wange omukisa ogumpeereddwa nze Hajjatinaki Designer meya Kyana Mukakatawi kanso ate era nze chairperson wa NRM owa Kyana Mukakatawi kanso munzikirize bahonorable kansala bekola nabo mu Kyana Mukakatawi kanso muyimirireko buyimirizi bategeere nti nammwe abamu we muli neyanzanyo ensaba abakulu b'amasomero ga Kyana Mukakatawi kanso aga primary 13 namwe muyimireko waggulu agwega primary neyanzanyo mukadde wange wano tulina essomero limu erya secondary school liri wano mu Kyana Mukaka wano wennyini Kyantale waabe naye mukadde wange oba oliawo mukubabuuzaako n'okweyanjula siyinza kulirekayo kulyogerako kuba ye secondary school yokka gye tulina wano naye nga tulinawo abantu baffe abava ebuyaga oba abayizi almost okutuuka wano bali mu 20 to 17 kilometers kituleeteddemu obunafu okubanga abaana baffe naddala abawala tebasobodde kusoma olw'olugendo lulimu
Chanamukaka sub-county esobola okubanga ekola kilomita 2 sub-county emu
siwera wawangu mukama wange 17 to 20 bali kuyaga abalino wawangu mukadde waffe ffenno tulina ennyanja n'emibiri engendo ziwanvuwamu nsaba headmistress owa Kindu oyimirireko atukwatiridde kati abayizi balina bali mu 1,200 n'okusoma yeyokadde tulina wano kituleeteddemu obunafu mu baana baffe oba oliawo tutafuna mukisa gweyongerayo naye yanziza nnyo taata wano wooli ekyannamukaaka tuli mu bizimbe by'obwakabaka mwe tukyakolera naye mu kubanga tubituddemu batusindiikiriza okubanga tubaako bwe tulaga tutandika okukolera tulabaza nnyo former vice president ow'ekitiibwa sekandi nga tawuni council yagiwaayo eka 2 kweba ezimba ekitebe kyakyo naye mukadde wange olw'okuba nti twakatandika erya tawuni council ensawo ntono ddala okuteekako ekizimbe ekyaffe oba oliawo nga tulina kuddukira mu ofiisi yo otukwatireko tusobole okulekera bwakabaka okwetaaya wadde butuleze bulungi neebaza era ofiisi eyo y'owekitiibwa sekandi kubanga ne ministries endala nabo babawaako we balaga naye oba oliawo nabo tebannafuna bizimba bigendayo nga Channamukaaka tulina okusomozebwa kunene olw'okuba mwati wa disitulikiti nebange egenda kutuula muno kwe twavudde okufuuka tawuni council naye ebisomoozo binene taata ebikozesebwa byola kasasiro abantu baffe okubateekateeka okubasomesa emisolo n'ebintu bingi nga byomanyi n'abakozi betulina abatekinical staff balubatu ddala so ebitusomooza biyitirivu nnyo tusaba otulowoozeeko nnyo nga bwe tuli abapya nga tutandisemu eno financial year obeeko wetuteeka ate naddala nga tuli ku musingi ogwabana NRA mu myaka 5 tubeere nga tulina kyetulagawo neyanziza nnyo manyi bulungi kyokitutte batekinical staff aba Channamukaaka nsaba muyimirireko mukadde wange abalabe tuli baalubatu ddala technical staff Channamukaaka buli omu ogenda okulaba ng'akola n'egyamunna okulaba nti tuyimirirawo neyanza nnyo ssebo neyanzeege mukadde wange nyinza obutalya nnyo budde bwo naye sisobola kuleka akagambo kano tulage ng'oba oliawo abantu abalala bafunye omukisa ne babeera nga basobola okufuna okubangulibwa nga bakayingira mu bukulembeze ffe nga Channamukaaka tawuni council tusaba twasibanyezeeko tukole induction abantu baffe babangulwe mu bukulembeze bwe bazzeemu kubanga ensago yaffe tetusobola kwefacilitatinga kuyimirizaawo nteekateeka eyo neyanziza nnyo neyanzeege bingi ebituukiddwako wano naye nga kukolera wamu wano tulinawo eddwaliro health center 4 naye almost erya disitulikiti yonna eddwaliro eryo kwaliko kotazi z'abasawo naye nga bebatuleetera eddagala ate tetulina we tulitereka abasawo ne basaba bapangiseeko wabweru tubeere nga bwe babadde basula ate bwe tutereka eddagala kyokka atera okusoomozebwa kwe tulina nti olw'okuba byazimbibwa nga byakusulamu kati amabaati waggulu bwe gatulya n'eddagala lyaffe liba lisembye waggulu lyonooneka tetunafuna buyambi bwaki bituteekayo siiringi oba ebizimbe ebyo bitukagalanya ku mutindo bibeere nga eddagala lyaffe waki tetusobola kwonooneka
kusooka njala kwebaza meeya kawo waffe aliwo wawano kawo so kino kituyitire nga kiri agent tugende otekemu engalama temalawo miliyoni emu tugendesemu express zemukozesa tukole engalama mulebe tukoladagala
tweyanza nnyo tweyanzeege abasawo baffe nabo bwe babaawo ekisobola okutuyamba okubazimbira ne baba nga basula ku ddwaliro kijja kutwanguyirizaako okujjanjaba abalwadde baffe oba oliawo mu budde bwonna bwe babeera bafunidde obuzibu. Wano mu kitundu kyaffe ennamba nnene ddala kubanga balooka mukyannamukaaga tuyina homes 9 n'okusoba households, naye abazadde baffe abazaala fenna tukozesa wano kyannamukaaga, naye oba tukiyite waadi ya maternity teyenkana tetuuka kuguli omulyango wali oguyita nawalo. Osanganga bamaama ab'embuto babebasiza mu tenti, abalala bataddawo wansi omukeeka, abalala bali ku nkalaza, naye nga bwe babajjanjabira nga abasawo ecupa balezendere. Tusaba ku buyambi bwe kiba kisoboka tugaziyeeko ku bintu ebimu naddala nga bamaama bwe bazaalira ne bwe tujjanjabira abaana baffe. Kati tulinawo omusawo ow'amannyo naye akatebe akateeka ku lubalaza alabe kutya bw'ayinza okuyamba omulwadde azze n'ekizibu ekifaanagana bwe kityo. Mukadde wange n'obukulu bw'ensonga eyo nzikiriza nti ebisinga obungi gavana wange Kakande abirina, kubanga oba oliawo ffenna bitugatta agenda kulambulula kubanga yatutwala nga Masaka district naffe oba oliawo tugenda okuyambibwako, naye ebyo ebibadde bitalekeka nga ntuuse wano mu maaso go. Nsiimye nnyo omukisa ogumpeereddwa, neeyanza nnyo neeyanzeege. Mukama abanjagalire, Abasajja Kabaka awangaale. Gavana, nsaba ojje otubuuzeeko mukadde wange.
Abooluganda abali wano, Omukama mulungi obudde bwonna era zembeera zitube mu ngalo. Mwebala bazaddemu akalulu bamanyi Katonda. Ssebo sipiiki yange eri mu lusuku olw'abantu betulina wano ab'ebika ebyenjawulo abambayiza okuba tebawulire mu Buganda buki nenja kutema atemamu wakolaki newasoboka kubanga okukwata obudde kintu kikulu. Ssebo honorable minister of local government, ffe bwe twagambye nti honorable Balamu kyetukozese buli muntu yenna amanya nti honorable Balamu ajja, honorable Balamu yuuyo ate nga nze otudde eri oli muganda wange abava mu kisinde ekya PLU. Nsaba mutukubireko mu ngalo abava mu kitundu ekyo. Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Sarah Babireshyo, my sister, ate Ogi eyasoma obulungi n'opiyo abakategedde bakakubidde mu ngalo. Baba atwala ba RDC awamu ne RDC